Hello, listeners, and welcome to the 65th episode of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. I'm Jacob, and on this episode, I'm joined by
Duncan,
Jack,
and John.
And we're glad to have you with us, listeners. This is going to be our last show for the year. We're going to take the opportunity to kind of look at the year in retrospect or in review, and hopefully turn an optimistic eye forward to what else we would like to see or hope for in or with the game. But before we get to those items, including our hobby progress, we do want to take a moment to thank this episode's sponsors. This episode is brought to you in part by our patrons over at patreon.com. Join us over there. You'll get the opportunity for exclusive chat with the show hosts, as well as some opportunities for merch, including previews of forthcoming merch. We'll hope to see you there. Likewise, we want to thank material sponsors of this show in terms of Elric's Hobbies, where you can use Heresy ABB for a discount at checkout, and Monument Hobbies, where you can use our affiliate link in the show notes or description. And there you can also use the discount code HeresyABB at checkout. Thank you very much for using those whenever you shop with those. It lets the show know that we've been able to steer you towards some right places. So thank you very much for that, listeners. Hobby progress. John, take us away.
Yeah, so like I said last time, I was building a bunch of Marines for the inductee rite of war, and I was lucky enough that my parents gave me a little spin of money for Christmas, and so I went ahead and bought a couple of boxes of the Arbites kill teams. And those guys come with some really cool looking shotguns. So I decided to take some of the Mark VI guys that I'd built and combine those with some of those Arbeat shotguns and made a cool couple squads of recon Marines fielding Astartes shotguns so I can outflank them and deny all the reactions I want. They go together really well. In fact, almost better than the GW than the arms that are supposed to go on the Marines, to be completely honest with everybody. The left shoulder pad is the one that's kind of got the Judge Dredd looking eagle on it, and that one I just put a normal Marine shoulder pad over, and then left the right shoulder pad, the kind of smaller Arbite shoulder pad, and so that way I was able to get those done pretty quick. I built those 20 guys. I built the 6 squads of inductee last week, and then right before we recorded, I went outside and used 3 cans of spray paint to prime everything so that it's ready to go, and hopefully in the new year, I can get some time to sit down with some Monument Hobbies spray or models paint and get some colors down on those guys and start painting my inductee rite of war as well as the table that I've been working on slowly. So I got a little bit more of the MDF random stuff built for those. I found it's like Cromlech made this street signs and kind of various city scatter. It's like AC units and things like that. And so I got that pulled out, and I'm going to be working on that this week. But that's everything I've got done this week. What about Duncan?
Well, Duncan played some more Starfield. I'm not going to lie about that. Had fun on that. Duncan played some of Rogue Trader. That was fun. And then Duncan
that is fun.
Yeah, and Duncan also got all of the Dawnbreakers assembled, finished up assembly. The last squad of Tactical Marines is assembled. And then when I went to start painting and get them all based, I discovered that I am almost entirely out of my Tamiya Flat Black. So I'm going to have to get another bottle of that, because when I say almost out, I mean there's a few drops that in the bottle that pretty much won't be useful enough to actually get anything done. So, yeah, that was fun. I'm going to pick another bottle of that up after work tomorrow so I can hopefully get all of these guys base coat black or a primed black, and then put their white zenithal highlight on. Try to get all that done Monday so that Tuesday I can get all of them red. But this leaves me with pretty much just, other than 2 dreads, one of which I need to assemble and get painted, and another one I need to get painted as well. Leaves me with just 2 apothecaries and a character model that I might or might not make for this army. But that's pretty much it. The Blood Angels are ready for paint, or what's left of the Blood Angels that aren't already painted are ready for paint for Adepticon. Doesn't sound like much, but it was. So, Jack, why don't you take it away? What all did you get done, sir?
Still assembling stuff. Put together a Xiphon, a Sakaran, a Predator, a Achilles, and now I'm going to be working on a Spartan. Because I'm really trying to increase the motor bay of the Ultramarines, because that's where I feel like I'm really slacking at. So past that, I really didn't get a lot of other stuff done because 'tis the season. 'Tis the season. What about you, Jacob? What did you work on?
I think last time we recorded, I had already finished my Arasaka for Cyberpunk. Most of my time since has been spent on a lot of Lego, actually. My folks got me the Lego Himeji Castle set. That was one of the very first stops I got to make while I was on my exchange tour. Goodness, that's been 15 years ago, give or take. And I have really taken a shine to a lot of the adult Lego kits they've been putting out, a lot of their like architecture series, and this has been no exception. It's been, I think it's about 17 bags, averaging about 30 minutes a bag, so you're looking at give or take a 9-ish hour build time. So it's pretty pronounced. It's very intricate. It's very detailed, but again, very, very satisfying. And something that means a lot to me as well. So, unfortunately, that does mean I'm coming up a little short on a different hobby goal. Here's hoping that between some pending hobby nights I think I've got lined up, and just me trying to focus on it at a personal level, that my other hobby project for the end of the year, which was to get, I think it's only about 7 or 8 models done up for Tabletop Combat's Carnival. Really, really hopeful to be able to get those all together and get those on the table, because I got a couple buddies chomping at the bit for that, in addition to Legion. And my goal for next year of trying to average about 4 or 5 BattleTech models a month. So, yeah, not a lot, but a lot of hope, and that's okay. With all of our hobby progress behind us, I don't think we've got a whole lot lined up for Heresy previews this week. I really just think it's the Thousand Suns console, technically Sorcerer or Librarian, but that's a bit of everyone with Thousand Suns. So I think that's our only super meaningful preview there. Am I right on that?
I haven't really seen anything else, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the Sunday preview article was almost like a complete copy of the last one, which was a little odd to me that they just redid the Thousand Sun and the Alpha Legion guy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too.
But we still don't have the white scar for some reason.
I know. There's a couple that we really do need at this point. We need the White Scar, and we need ones that haven't been either created or released yet. But that's another topic.
I haven't seen enough. Go ahead.
Has anyone seen the Trader Champion in the wild yet? Because I haven't seen him anywhere.
I'm not certain if I have.
In the wild, no.
I'm gonna head over there right now.
Even
and take a look
available?
and see, that's the thing. I know he was supposed to be available, but I haven't seen him anywhere. So I haven't seen a single one of them. And I know for a fact that I cannot be the only one there or out there who wants.
He's out of stock on the GW website.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them actually in anybody's hands, and I know a couple people who ordered them. I haven't checked in to see if they got them yet, but I'll have to do that.
Yeah, he was a cool model. I was looking forward to getting one later.
Yeah, I want like 5.
Is he the Mark III dude with the bolter in his left hand?
Yep, that's him. He's the guy I want to make into every single champion for every legion forever.
Yeah, where he's got the very like Mark III adjacent helm.
Mm-hmm. I
I
want to change
I had
out that
thought he was
helmet.
available, but
Yeah, I thought he was too. And like I said, I know a couple people who ordered them, but I haven't talked to them to see if they've arrived yet. So I'll have to reach out. I want to get a couple of them and cut off those heads if they are not attached automatically, and put in various other heads, like, a World Eater head, an Iron Warrior head, a Blood Angel's head, all the heads.
yeah, for sure.
Well, I think it's about all those we've got. What's
It's a
up
busy
next on?
hobby.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, but I actually was expecting
I mean,
more
it is the end of
from
the
GW.
year, so
Yeah, but I was expecting more from GW to try to sit there and say, Christmas is right around the corner. Use your Christmas money to pre-order these. But I guess not.
Yeah, but it's also their middle of financial year. From my understanding, they're up in sales on everything but licensing. So
Yeah. Yep. So who knows?
So that takes us to our year-end review.
I believe it does. So I think we did the same thing last year, and while I haven't listened to that episode verbatim, I think our general position was pretty positive. We, I think, ended up having that roadmap. Maybe that didn't show up until Adepticon. We were a little frustrated at the lack of infantry releases, even though Games Workshop insisted they were coming. It just took, 9 more months for that to actually happen, which was unfortunate, but hardly the end of the world. So yeah, I think it's important for us, as much as a show as a player base, in order to take stock, figure out where we are, figure out where we would like to be, and figure out what our pain points are, whether they're physical pain points as far as models or lack thereof, and or maybe there's something else, the same way that we've been lamenting FAQ of late. But I also don't want this to become something where we're negative and we're taking the most critical eye to things. But that being said, I don't know that it's super warranted to put that disclaimer out. I think we are probably net positive on this year, although if I'm coming from like my own stock and my own position, this was the year that I left Heresy, or at least started making my exit. For me, this year Games Workshop burned what goodwill they may or may not have had to burn with me after the last edition. But obviously, like, I'm in the minority there, or at least I would hope or believe that I am. What's you guys' general read? We've gotten a lot of PDFs between Demons, Militia, Traitor Knights. We did finally get some infantry releases between the Mark III kit and Mark VI Assault Marines. What's the feeling in the room?
My overall read, I'll go first, because it doesn't hurt anything. My overall read for as a whole is we had some ups and some downs, but we've had more ups than we have had downs. We've actually had a fairly decent amount of releases. Maybe not quite at the pace we wanted, not quite as much as we wanted or expected, but we've actually had a pretty good spate of stuff drop this year for us as a Heresy community as a whole. I'm going to go ahead and flat out say this. The Siege of Chthoniya, that in my mind is a straight up win. Probably the biggest win that they put out this whole year. It was marvelous. It was very, very well done. Followed absolutely shortly thereafter by the that new box we just got that has, I think, already stopped being available. The Legion Astartes battle group.
Yep.
Those two boxes, or that box and that book, I think gave Heresy a fairly good shot in the arm in a lot of ways. I like the Mark III kit that's come out. I'm not a fan of some of the other stuff that's dropped in some ways, but I'm appreciative of everything we've gotten so far at this point, and I'm just going to stop rambling at that right there. So, Jack, what are your thoughts?
I don't want to be a negative Nancy when it comes to some of the stuff. Because I agree with you. Like, we had some wins with, the PDFs coming out. We had a win with the Siege of Cathonia book. But also, with that, like with the Siege of Cathonia book, that wasn't something that my, Feligolas could get. And I'm always a supporter of local shopping where you can play. So, like ups and downs, I want to say for the most part up this year. The Mark III kit's fantastic. That was another good entry point for people right there for, price to what you're getting to what you're able to put on the table. That was desperately needed. The role of releases, at least we had a roll of releases across the year. Like I remember being desperate for stuff in days gone by of this, hey, just give me something. Hey, just give me something. We got another roadmap. I feel like we're close to following the roadmap. It's not something that I put a lot of faith in, simply because not that I disbelieve them. I just know how easy those things are when you're trying to get stuff to market or to go awry. So that's not a dig at GW. That's just I know how fast, stuff turns to crap when you're hoping for the best. But I feel like we're fairly on target with that. We should be getting pre-Adepticon command squads. I haven't laid hands on a new Daredevil kit, but from everything I've heard, is fantastic. Overall, I feel like it's been a positive year. Few hiccups along the way. Biggest thing that I wish is got to play more games with my friends. That's going to be every single year. What about you, John?
Yeah, I think Siege of Cathonia had some of the right things in it. I think it was almost let down by the FAQ, though. The FAQ that basically made the Siege of Cathonia Emperor's Children section almost unplayable. The inducti are interesting.
Just to make sure, so do you think the Siege of Cathonia Emperor's Children are unplayable, or do you think that the Exemplary Battle Legions Hereticus Emperor's Children are unplayable?
The Emperor's Children.
Well, I'm saying from which book?
The Siege of whichever one cannot take any non.
Okay, so that's Hereticus with Snake Fulgrim, and I'm on the same page as you there.
I can't really disagree there. Siege of Cathonia didn't really do any changes to the Sun or the Emperor's Children.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was the one that was inductee and things like that. Yeah, that one got hurt by the FAQ that said that you can no longer use the attachments to shoot the whole squad. It's only the single tank.
Yeah.
In that case, it's a really expensive upgrade for one shot. But my opinion is, and I hate saying it because like you guys, I feel like we're on the cusp of greatness. Like Krennic from Rogue One, the one good Star Wars movie Disney made. I feel like we're just so close to good, but the left hand and the right hand aren't talking. You get one guy that comes out after his lunch break and writes an FAQ that says, "No, I don't like what happened on that book," and changes these things. Or you get a good FAQ that comes out and like some of the changes that happened in the Traitor Knights list. So those were really interesting and took the design in a completely different way, and the fact that it wasn't bound down by limited ranges and things like that. Completely upended some of the ways you take lists, and the fact that you could take Bloodthirsty Armiger lists, or you could take kind of a more shooty list. Some of the upgrades you could take with some of the lords. And then you get the FAQ that says, well, you can take a knight list, but then you can't take it with mech. And I'm just like, what? Somebody needs to say we need a guiding hand. And I know
think-
that the response to that is going to be, well, do we wait for a guiding hand or do we keep what we've got? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And I get that. I really do. But at the same time, I keep painting units and I keep building armies that aren't great. They're okay, or they're subpar, and that's, again, some of that's my fault because I want to run this thing because it's a cool list, or this thing because it does this. But at the same time, I'm just like, man, this ain't what we had.
No, it's not. It is not where we used to be at all. And
But
yes, I agree. We could
I could
absolutely
see
use
where we
guiding
could
hand.
where we could, if you could fix these 4 things, or if you would just say, hey, GW hiring manager looking for, the heresy guru that just pushes the whole thing. And I don't necessarily know that that's if they've got one of those and we're just not seeing it, or it takes 2 years to develop all this stuff, so to speak. We've been told over and over. I don't know. I looked back because today I compiled the list of all the heresy releases, and for the first 5 months we got re-releases or limited order stuff, and that hurts. Apart from a Horus. And then we look at what we got the rest of the time, and it was, we're getting releases, but it's like a character that we can only use for 1 legion,
Or like
we'll
super
get previews
heavies,
for a character,
or like a
or
super heavies that you can't.
the super heavies that aren't that good,
Yeah.
the Spartan chassis super heavies, or we re-released the Mastodon with a new sprue. I'm like, that's cute, guys, but that's not what needs to be done. Now, looking at the roadmap, I'm looking forward. We're in winter right now. We just got the assault squad shipped today. Next up in spring, we've got a command squad and a melee weapons upgrade set in plastic. That's great. Love it.
New army.
I will probably buy more of those command squads than is healthy if they're not $100. And then resins, it literally just says new characters and upgrades. That's what it said for 3 out of the 5 other months. New characters and upgrades. That's kind of what differentiates our game, but at the same time, like, make other stuff. I don't want to keep harping on this because I feel like I am, but at the same time, I went back through these releases and I noticed that they pulled the Legion decal sheets. I know I was, I like decals. I'm not going to say that I don't, but at the same time, like, that was a release that we were told, and then we got pulled.
Yeah.
We got the jet bikes this year. We got a bunch of characters this year. We got an assault squad. That's about it for stuff that people asked for.
Yeah, and I'm going to speak about that jet bikes real quick. That jet bike squad was needed because with the way they were before, where it was only available in resin, that really put a lot of people off on wanting to get them.
And also, they were like crazy expensive, even and they came in as ones. So, like, you ordered a jet bike, you got 1 jet bike. Now, for $60, you're getting 3 or whatever it is they've raised the price to.
Yep. Well, of course, that is if you actually get them. If they're not,
they're available. They're available now. You can
good.
find them most places.
Oh, good.
It took like over 6 months for it to become like that, but yeah.
So I want to double check that I've heard and understood correctly. John, do you feel Heresy is in a worse place now than what it was before the edition change?
Yes. But I don't necessarily know that it's in a worse place than it was after the edition change. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that we're hurting.
I think that
we're... I feel like what we had before was slow releases, but a more open community that was like, okay, look, if GW ain't going to do this, we will. And now that GW is slow rolling things, the community is pushing back more against the people that are doing the things. So there's a pushback there. And then at the same time, the things that we're getting aren't what we're requesting. See the FAQ.
Now, I think that's a really, really significant point, is that I think that there's reason to both be glad that overall the cost to enter Heresy is probably lower than what it was previously. But to also still call significant attention to knights seemingly just being left kneecapped by the Games Workshop pendulum, and they're just like, we couldn't figure out how to balance this, so we're just going to leave it junk until we try a different thing and probably go too far the opposite direction. It's a little surprising because overall, my experience has been that most people seem to regard Custodes as positive. But then again, they did get that relaunch before the end of last edition for that to try to be the case. I think that the Exemplary Battle Book is just shameful. I think that they asked for way too much for a book that's basically not worth owning. I guess if you're a Salamander and they haven't published that PDF, sorry about you. You're either going to have to find a means of acquiring a particular page or two of that document, or you're just going to have to not play that unit. And I would apologize.
I'm going to ask an honest question.
Yeah.
Let me ask an honest question here. Has anyone seen anyone run any of the units out of the Exemplary battles?
Yes.
Yeah. I
one?
saw some players playing that type stuff before I left the game, yeah.
I haven't seen any of them. I've heard people talk about them.
I've seen Deliverers played at least once.
I think Dan was working on the Word Bearer guys, the Chaplain, Medicaid. Yeah.
And I've played against the Ultramarine Nemesis Destroyers.
Both of you have also played against Chieftains.
Very true. Absolutely factual. Although, well, yeah, Chieftains have only been this edition, yeah.
We've seen 3 out of 20. 22.
I definitely think that because we do have, dare I say, all the content all at once, we can more appreciably take stock of the current edition in a way that we couldn't take stock of last edition with regard to analyzing the quality even for stuff that quote-unquote has come out all at the same time. It's just all over the place. And
Jack still doesn't have Shattered Legions.
Yeah.
Militia isn't that old.
They seem to just be winging Shattered Legions and just being like, take an infinite number of optional detachments, figure it out, man.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. And so, yeah.
And I don't know. I think the 2 books we got this year, and the 2 net new books in Siege of Cathonia and Exemplary Battles in the Age of Darkness, are really indicative of quality being all over the place. Admittedly, I think that the direction resin characters have trended in the last 3 to 6 months of the year. The Loyalist champion and Trader champion generally well received. Almost all of the Legion-specific consoles we've been getting, from the updated Space Wolf Artificer Praetor and the updated Mark VI Space Wolf heads, all the way through the Stormseer model, the Thousand Suns console, the Alpha Legion Saboteur. Was there another console? The Sons of Horus Dark Apostle, or whatever it is. Those have all been getting really, really strong marks. We seem overall net positive on those kits. And maybe it's because we continue to see good enough positives that it makes every time something's not a good enough positive really stand out very starkly.
Yeah, we haven't said anything bad about most of the new releases because they've been good. I mean, even the where we see corner cutting or things like that, where it's like, okay, this looks like it's borrowed from here or copy pasted there because this is CAD. Even then, we're still positively reviewing all the stuff that comes out. But at the same time, I don't know, we're getting something. So I don't want to be toxically positive and say, yay, we're getting things, and we should just be happy with the things that we're getting, because at the end of the day, we are spending our hard-earned money buying the toys.
Yeah.
I will say, by the way, hi all.
Hey Jamie.
Hi Jamie.
I literally just rolled in. So, anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna go with the old, what is it, idiom? 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Does that sound reasonable. I mean, we are getting a lot of new we have been getting a fairly steady queue of releases. Allegedly, there's a new army that we should get sometime this winter, or at least the start of it. You know, we had the new battle box, which was good. Unfortunately, it was the splash or limited release, which kind of sucks. But, you know, but it seems like they've really done a lot trying to fluff out the plastics line for Heresy, because unfortunately, this is a step back. It basically Forge World's dead at this point. You know, it's now expert rated or expert line at GW. So,
and I think I know why they had to re-release those Mark III plastics. I was looking back through my sprue, and there's a Thunderhammer in there, and that's no longer illegal. I think that's why that got pushed to the top of that sprue.
Interesting. I'll have to look at that again because I still have them. But I mean, it's like, you know, we get a couple good things forward, and then we get something back. I mean, like, yeah, we got a FAQ, but like, I don't know. I mean, we've kind of talked about it a little bit. Didn't really answer a lot of the questions that a lot of the players are asking, but then actually made new questions that people had and some of the decisions they made. I mean, I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy. It's just, it's like they literally, like, you know, they keep shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. It's the best way to put it. I mean, like, yeah, we're getting progress, but not all the progress is necessarily good. You know, I'm not going to say they've finished or solved the production problems, because as you know, we've been looking, it looks like we've been getting decent amount of stuff released when they do release, unlike when the jet bikes first showed up, was literally like a single box per store, which is ridiculous for something like jet bikes, because a lot of people wanted them or needed them for their armies. Whereas then, you know, it looks like, you know, there was a decent amount of stuff available for all the releases after that, including the Knights. Of course, they were $210 a piece. And then the battle box, and then the siege tanks, let's just call them that. And then you also had the Venerator, Sicarian, and then all the other different Rhino hulled variants that came out. You could get them if you wanted, but then they show us the new transfer sheets, still waiting on them as far as I know, right, John? They've never put them out.
They're completely gone. That whole article has been rewritten to say, we don't know when it's coming out.
Yeah. So, again, 2 step forward, 1 step back. We are getting progress. I'm not going to say that it is cheaper to get in Heresy than it was before, because I will argue that the 2 other boxes, the Betrayal, Calth, and Burning Prospero, were better deals. They were more affordable price point, and I would say more widely available. And at the time, they were more usable than the current box. The current box has a lot of stuff in it, and it has the rule book. I get it, but it's more than double the price point. And like the Terminators, yeah, you can use them. Nobody does. The Spartan, unless you're running like late, you know, not late Heresy, but later, you know, higher up build totals, you're generally not going to see a Spartan, you know, when you're starting out. So, again, I mean, it's a good box, and I'm happy that it's available for everybody, and you can still get it. It's not limited, and it has the rule book in it, but a lot of it's not usable for a lot of the established players. So, I mean, the troops is what people want, you know, and the Contemptor at this point.
I will counter that even if the value prospect on the infantry was higher, where even if you imagine you dropped $150 on that box, you got 30 Mark IV tactical Marines and what was it, 5 Terminators?
5 Terminators, 2 reasonably convertible HQs.
Yeah, convertible HQs I'll give you.
And then you also had the Contemptor too, which not a great sculpt, but it was still a Contemptor.
Yeah, I guess like I'm willing to write that off full on its face, and that's because at the time we did. If you look at that box, yes, you could buy 2 of that box, and you would have a pretty robust start in Heresy. But then what you would have to pony up for were all the vehicles, which, to my understanding or recollection, were significantly more expensive than what they were last edition.
They are.
And again, or I should say they were more expensive than what they are now. Having them be plastic where you can actually get them at a game store. Props to Jack for calling attention to the fact that there were some releases we couldn't get from friendly locals this year.
Yes.
But the fact that I could walk into my friendly local and get jet bikes, or get a Whirlwind Scorpus, or several other different used to be Forge World exclusive items.
The accessibility is better. How about that?
Yeah, I think between items being available and generally being available at better price points than what they were in resin is a net positive.
I would say agree. I would say the entry for me, I would say maybe is steeper, but the building out or fluffing out the army is cheaper. Would that make sense?
The intro is harder. Yeah, the intro is more expensive, but the depth is more.
Right. You could, as you're saying, you could get the tanks and vehicles and support units a lot cheaper, and they're a lot more readily available, whereas the troops, your core troops or whatever, I think are more expensive. Does that make sense?
It does. I kind of think we might be going about that part wrong. I'm not so sure that the core troops themselves are more expensive or not. I mean, if you're buying the generic basic box, you're getting you're getting a good deal on most of the dudes you need for that basic set of dudes for your basic tacticals.
When it first came out, it was a very, very, very good deal. Now, there's been at least one price increase that they didn't announce on it because it's a lot more expensive now than when it first came out. And I don't know when that came in. I mean, I know there was one announced price increase, but that affected everything but the core boxes. And this was another one that I never saw announced that caused this one to go up.
That was the one we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago now.
Okay.
That we didn't realize had actually happened. Yeah, we were all kind of shocked on that one.
Yep. That it changed the value prop. It's still a good deal. It's not as good a deal.
Yeah. I will say that if you can find that the Legion Astartes battle group, that is a really good deal.
They until I haven't looked this week, but they still had them on Amazon last week when I was looking.
So if you can get it because that's still a really good deal.
Just be careful with building it. I learned recently I picked up some Amazon deals of some Mark 6 squads, and one of those was missing a little pack of bases. Yeah. I thought I would contact GW and just get a little pack of bases sent out, and they said that unless it's bought from a GW store, they will not help you with any replacements. So if you buy something from Amazon and it's missing parts, you're expected to mail it back to the Amazon seller.
Which is Amazon.
Yeah.
Not always, but a lot
of
third party, but a lot of them are Amazon.
Yeah, it just for me, I remember the old GW of
they were very easy to deal with if you had a problem.
Yep.
And same thing with generally Forge World was fairly easy to deal with if you had a problem or it had to be a severe miscast or a missing part. But late it was different. They still have the Astartes battle group on Amazon, and it's sold by Amazon. It's $178.50.
Forge World back in the day was an absolute dream to deal with.
Yes,
other than transfers. But yes, they were a dream to deal with. I've had multiple orders that went missing or were literally lost in shipping for over 6 months, and they sent me a whole new order. So no questions asked, basically. They're like, sure, yeah. I mean, they usually have you wait 30 days, and after 30 days, they pretty much no questions asked, send you a new order.
So, I think that with most of this said, until or unless we've got more to talk about from this year, I want to get us to change gears and to start focusing on solutions for the year ahead. And not just in the, hey, maybe don't mess up and release an exemplary battle unit book that you're only going to have on shelves for one print run, and it's not going to be available to friendly locals. What's some concrete things that we think can help them either continue to win more or lose less?
I like John's idea. I think they need to have a Heresy SAR.
I'm for communication. If they communicate with us more about what's going on and with factual information,
Yeah.
like I would be okay with so much more.
Yep.
Like, hey, this isn't going out because there's a mishap at the printers. This is why you're not getting your
Right.
deck. Hey,
makes sense.
we chose to do the Mark III kit for that because of the rule change and the different weapons loadout.
No,
That, hey, we're not able to get everything to the stores because of XYZ. They'll never be as honest to say, hey, we didn't give the local stores this one book because we want to make all the money. They're never going to be that honest. But it's letting know where stuff is and what's actually coming down the line and what's happening with it. Not all this. And I'm pretty sure you can play back the tape. And I said this last year. None of this lost in the warp bullcrap that they'd love to put on their website.
Yep.
Yeah. Going back to what John said and what Jack and Jamie, all three have now said, a heresy czar. Yeah. I think I would love to have someone who's not named Andy Hoare in charge of the heresy. Someone who actually has enthusiasm for it. Someone who has sat there and gone through...
That knows the background, knows the lore.
Well, obviously Andy Hoare knows the background.
Well, yeah, he does. He does.
I just want someone who seems to put more care and effort into it, because it seems like Andy just, despite having been around since pretty much GW came to be, he doesn't seem to care.
He's got too much on his plate.
Yeah.
He's the specialist game czar. He's not the heresy czar. We need
a heresy
team lead or something. Yeah, we need a team lead or something that's going to specifically shepherd the heresy products. You don't have to be a beat stick or a beacon for all of the hate coming from the community. You can still have that coming from GW. But if you look at every, and I'm going to specifically point out one of the larger Warhammer releases that we've ever seen was Warhammer Online. If anybody didn't play that game, leading up to that game, one of the lead designers took over and was the mouthpiece for the company. Yeah.
Yes.
Most people didn't even play and they know the guy. He would come out dancing. He was always upbeat. He would always tell you, yeah, we're working on this. It's going to be the coolest thing ever. And if something didn't happen, you know what he'd do? He'd be like, you know what? Look, didn't happen. I'm sorry. We were trying to get that in, but we didn't get that in, and this didn't happen, or these things didn't line up correctly. That guy was always on point. And he wasn't the guy that was answering Twitter questions. He wasn't the guy that was answering emails. He was the face. He was just the PR face.
And he was good at it. And when he left a year after it had dropped, like 6 months later, the game died.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not saying that. I know we're all nerds. We're all quiet and reserved and not going to talk to people. I mean, but you've got to have someone that's going to promote this stuff.
You've got to have someone who is a public forward face.
A Heresy James Workshop.
Who is willing to engage. Yeah, the Heresy James Workshop.
The only way we're getting information right now is Heresy Thursday posts and Sunday release posts. And that's it.
Yeah.
And
bring back Jervis.
I see this game dying if GW doesn't do something. If they just keep trickling stuff out. If they come out with a new Army release and that Army release has a book alongside it and some other stuff comes out for everybody and everybody gets something and we start moving stuff again, yeah, I can see that ball starting to roll again. But at the current moment in time, I feel like we're at the bottom of a hill. There's two places you can go at the bottom of a hill. You can go back up and you can start the roller coaster over again, or you can keep digging. And I don't want us to keep digging.
I don't know if I see it dying. I definitely see if it isn't given more love and more attention from the actual company. I see it becoming third tier, even more so than it is. But I don't see with the community out there who has so much love and respect for Heresy. I don't see them willingly letting it die.
Oh no, we'll never let it die.
No, I don't mean us not letting it die.
But walk into a GW store and buy Blood Bowl. I dare you.
No.
They still have it, but I've never seen anybody buy it when I've been in there, much less leave and look at it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like you can walk into a GW store right now, and the odds are, if you say I play Heresy, the guy is going to say, "Oh, I at least know what that is."
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Last time I went to my local GW store, and I don't mean my friendly local. I mean the actual corporate store. the guy pointed me right over to where his small section of Heresy was. And I stress, small section of Heresy.
Mine, I don't know. Mine's a little different, but I mean, that guy, my GW manager's been there for a long time and knows a lot of the customers. So, and I mean, the section they have for Heresy is about the same as it is for maybe Necromunda and Age of Sigmar.
Yeah,
it's not the
corporate
same.
Stores are.
Yeah, they're laid out.
It's not Age of Sigmar. It's definitely the size of Necromunda. It's about 2 boxes wide. It's about the width of a starter set, up and down about 7 feet tall, because you can put 2 or 3 boxes side by side.
It's basically 2 starter sets wide and then like 7 feet up. That's what it is.
Yep.
And that's the same thing with Necromunda and like some of the terrain style based games. And then the 40K stuff is obviously that's a lot more than that. And then they have the new stuff up in the front, and books. I don't know. I think they need like a mouthpiece, the kind of I'm not going to say like a champion, but somebody to get out in front with the sigil and lead. How about that?
If GW's looking, I know a whole bunch of people who love the lore and would love to sit there and be the person as their forward face for GW corporate for Heresy.
Yeah, but you'd have to probably move over to the UK. So
I know people in the UK who would be willing to do it.
Yeah.
They just need to make it available.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I mean, I guarantee you there are people in Great Britain right now who are sitting there going, I would love to be the face of Heresy if this was available. But it's not. Instead, we get Andy Hoare.
So, the thing that I will caution here, because we've all wished on monkey's paws before, whether we've meant to or not, I have serious misgivings about a Heresy Czar, because I understand that much potential power can attract a certain type of bad actor, and my hesitancy is that we could get someone in that chair who thinks that their singular vision for the Heresy is what's correct. And that's not to say that it would be immediately bad, but what do we do as a community when that person starts saying, no, I'm not going to FAQ that, or no, I'm not going to errata that. You should just know how the game plays. Or, no,
then we can do it.
I'm really not comfortable with that army being able to do this or that, so I'm not going to give it to them. And I'm open to the idea that we as the community may be the ones who have to do that, but I hope that my worry is neither baseless and unfounded, nor is overwrought hand-wringing with regard to what we could end up with by hoping that we had someone to champion Heresy singularly.
Yeah, I don't even want it to stay just Heresy, and I may be one of the few out there who does not want it that way. We all know that with the novel series coming close to the end, we really only have one book left. That's going to kill a lot of interest in Heresy, unless they start focusing on stuff from the Scouring. And I personally hope that when the Heresy novels move into the Scouring, that the Heresy game itself continues in that setting. Because I want to see the stuff that was out there during the Scouring. Because, I mean, the Scouring took almost longer than the Heresy. Actually, it did take longer than the Heresy. So seeing that happen and being able to play out that stuff on the tabletop as well, maybe with less Primarchs, but more corrupted units or more various different things, and stuff being on the back foot, and not it being the same game, but still with the same setting, or maybe not the same setting, but still being the same game with the same units for the most part, and the same play style and the same functions. I'd love that. I'd love to see that continue, because I think we'd be able to get more people to actually pay attention to it, and more people possibly even to jump in with their other Marines, because after some point the chapters start kicking out and we start having stuff that's not just the 20 legions, and we start seeing older races pop in, other races pop in, Marines that don't have to be in the specific coloration of one of the 18 legions. So I don't know. I've got hopes. I've got a lot of hopes where I want it to go, and I don't know if those hopes are realistic or if those hopes are a pipe dream. I just want Heresy to continue. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can respect that. I think that's what we're all hoping for, is to continue to see the game be its best self.
So here's a question: with the new army that supposedly is coming out,
Yeah.
what do you think would help the Heresy the most at this point of the available options, like to drum in more support?
I think if they added more, they've got the models to add in Plastic Mechanicum. I don't know why they haven't yet. They've got the models to add. They've got the files now to add in Solar Ox, which is kind of the leading. That's what our new army's going to be. Pool is, but I think both of those, and even an update to the Sisters of Silence, just adding in the 2 missing units, the beasts, which could then also work for militia, as well as the jet bikes, which you could also work into militia if you built them right. I think if you came out with certain ways of those units, I think you would get more people that were on the fringes. I've seen a couple of people that still play 40K. They're like, well, I don't want to play just a Marine game.
Right.
And
well, I've seen a lot of people that want
to.
I've seen, like, not that it's going to happen, okay, but I've seen a lot of people say, like, well, I want to play Xenos, and Heresy's not Xenos, it's Marine on Marine. We're like, well, it's not Marine on Marine. There's a lot of other options, but yes, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I don't know about Xenos. I kind of like the way it's homemade right now. For that way, it's limiting how many you're going to see.
Right.
In a way that kind of does what we wanted before, was the Flames of War, early, middle, late war period. I always kind of hoped that they'd done that with Heresy 2.0, was that way you can have kind of the Crusader stuff, and then you can have the more Shadow War stuff, and then you could end with the witchy poo crazy stuff on Terra. And what we're getting right now is we're getting an ever-evolving game that's never going to stop. And there's good things and there's bad things about that. In the fact that, maybe 6 months down the line, when we get, when the Sons of Horus get access to their possessed and things like that, they might not want to take other units because the possessed are going to be so good. And that comes with game design. And so we'll see what happens with that bridge when we cross it. But they could have easily broken that down into different style games, or, like Duncan is saying, break off the witchy poo stuff into the Scouring and say, okay, the Heresy is up to Crusade, and then Scouring and Siege of Terra and Scouring are going to be our new game.
Yeah.
There's a couple different ways they could break that. But I think to get people into the game, you're going to need something different, completely different from Marines on the shelf. Mm-hmm. And to do that, you've either got to do the Solar Ox, or you've got to do Mechanicum, or
Mechanicum, or not Mechanicum, Solar Ox / Militia, and then...
Yeah. Because you can't really do... Militia is basically just the Cadian book. That's why they held it out.
Essentially, yeah. Or Krieg.
So, I think, like, if I'm reading, and obviously this is going to have some of my own projection in it, for next year, what do you want to see? If we got 2 book releases... I know this year we did get 2 book releases, but they were kind of disparate. What's the hope? Knowing that one of those books is possibly going to be associated with the army that's still hopefully coming Q1 or Q2 next year. Loosely, I'll bet that's going to get previewed at Adepticon and show up before Gen Con.
We got Horus previewed before Adepticon. He showed up at / right after Adepticon.
Well, they'll do a preview at LVO of something.
Yeah.
So, and that's coming up in the end of January. So I kind of figure they'll probably do the same thing they did this year. They'll have, or not really the same. They'll have, like, the launch of the new army book, okay, with the army and some of the plastic kits, maybe a battle box kind of starter for it, not a full box, and then they'll probably have like a campaign book like they did with Sithonia. And then you'll have releases sprinkled in amongst that, probably filling out the whatever the new army is, and then converting more of the leftover stuff from Forge World into plastic, is what I would assume. I mean, I could be off the reservation, but that's what I would guess.
I would hope to see the super heavies brought over.
I think everybody
they could.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I think that's something they could push out.
That the super heavies, you're going to probably see. I bet you'll see at least one more Primarch, if not two this year. Whether that's a demon Primarch or not, I'm not going to go that far. But you'll probably see another Primarch. Super heavy tanks. Maybe this would be awesome for me, but I would say maybe like the aircraft, like the Lightning Strike Fighter or the like a Charybdis. Maybe not a Charybdis, but like Dread Drop Pod or Dreadclaw, something along that lines in plastic.
I think the Storm Eagle.
Storm Eagle.
The Storm Eagle and a resculpt of that whole line. That way you can get the Fire Raptor as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of ways they can save as much money as possible.
Minimal sprues. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
They're going to keep doing all the characters and consoles in resin. You'll get, hopefully, fingers crossed, and they've said that they plan on doing it every Legion. You will get one for every Legion.
That'd be nice.
I'm trying to think other vehicle-wise, like what is not available in Saber tanks. That would be one that would be pretty easy to do in plastic.
Jav speeders.
Speed. Well, that would be another one. Is like the speeder line. Period. Not just javelins, but like suicide speeders and regular bikes.
Yes,
I think another one.
I think if they put regular bikes out in plastic, I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, regular bikes would be another one.
And that'll certainly make Night Lord players and White Scar players a lot happier.
Yes, very much so. I mean, you're going to fluff out. I'm assuming they're at some point they're either going to do a sprue for breachers or like a whole nother just box, kind of like they did with the assaults, where you'll probably get like 10 in a box that are breachers. I don't know if that will be this year, but they probably should do it to kind of round out those the base troop choices. I don't know if they'd ever do the termite, and is fairly new, but that would be another vehicle transport at that I don't know how you would convert that really over into plastic. That would be a pretty involved kit.
Yeah, but it could be reused in multiple instances too.
Yeah, or like you could put like basically two of the bodies together to make the big long, super big one for the IG. I mean, there's still plenty of stuff to convert over. I mean, some of it's getting a bit more niche, but like the speeders, bikes, and maybe the aircraft and the what was the other one that I said? The breachers would probably be like the ones that I would expect to probably see, and the super heavy tanks, because there really aren't. I don't think there's any other really big tanks that they haven't really done.
You're forgetting the obvious, Jamie.
The Sarkarian variants.
Nope, you're forgetting the obvious.
Okay.
Yeah, Thunderhawk.
Tanks. I didn't say flying I didn't say flying fortress. And thanks to you, you've now set us back another year.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
I don't care.
I haven't started mine yet.
I have a legit Forge World Thunderhawk sitting like 5 feet behind me.
And Jack has a painted one.
Mine's painted too. And it has it has LEDs in it, and the missiles on all the weapons are magnetized.
Doesn't matter too much. It's too much.
No, I went all out on it. Anyways, yeah, I don't know about that. I'd see them flushing out the whatever the other army is, be it AdMech or Solar Ox, before they do that.
Yep. Because
like AdMech, if you go with all the Heresy AdMech, I mean, there's a decent line of miniatures that will have to be converted over. I mean, as John said, there is stuff available for AdMech, but like up to this point, it really hasn't been used in the army. The existing plastics, it's a different aesthetic, I'd say. It's more steampunky than, I don't know, techno. I don't know. They don't look the same. There's not really a whole lot of crossover, and I'm rambling at this point. So anybody can step in at this point.
So was the original question what we want to see or what we think we're going to see?
Little column A, little column B. So I'm betting our two books next year are gonna be Legions Hereticus as a single standalone tome. I'm really betting on that. And then probably our next campaign book. There's a small chance that those could be the same book, just on the basis that instead of giving inductee to all of the legions, they just try to convince more trader players to buy the book by having all the legions Hereticus in it. And then for another book, I don't even immediately know where to tell them to go. I think we are nebulously on the position that Legions Hereticus is probably going to be our secret new army, although there's a small chance that it's going to be Solar Ox, since we're eventually getting all that stuff to show up for Legions Astartes or Legions Imperialis. But yeah, I definitely do not know enough about the lore at this point to know what we might be looking at for campaign books.
Well,
I
I mean,
mean,
Chthonia was so it never existed before.
Yeah, Chthonia was one we never even were looking at or even thinking about before it dropped. I'm actually going to say I expect 3 books this next year. I'll agree with the Legio Hereticus.
Don't set yourself up for failure, man.
No. One of them is entirely questionable, but Legio Hereticus. I think the next one after that will be the rest of the exemplary battle stuff, all just thrown into a book. I think that's pretty much a gimme.
no, part 2.
Yeah. And I think another campaign book. So,
Man, if they do another exemplary battle book, like I don't even know where I'm gonna go if they do that.
I mean,
we'll be on suicide watch for you, man.
I think
They
it's
kinda have
going
to.
to happen.
Yeah,
I think it's going to have to happen. They're going to, I mean, they made money off this one. They're going to do it again. And if they really wanted to be about it, which, they could put like Ascended Magnus in this one.
yeah.
And then have like 4 or 5 of the exemplary battle things and not do a Legio Hereticus book. And just kind of spread them all out in various exemplary battles. So if they do that, then I would expect 2 exemplary battle books this year, along with a campaign book.
They could start all new exemplary battles, though, too.
They could. I think, and I know this is going to sound crazy on me. So if you all want to say, no, Duncan, you're absolutely insane, go ahead. But I actually think that the campaign is probably going to be Hydra Cordatus. The one that was one step right before
Solar
Terra.
War. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was going to say. It's probably going to be like something with Alpha Legion infiltrating the start of the Solar War.
Yeah, and I think to go along with that, we're going to see not quite Solar Ox, but not quite Imperial Militia. Maybe like the old idea of Lost in the Damned, like mutants and stuff like that. So I don't know. That's my current gut feeling is we'll get that as our campaign book, and either Legio Hereticus or 2 exemplary battles books. And that's what I'm guessing.
Can I break that?
Sure, go ahead, break it.
I don't think we're going to get that as our book. I think that they're going to throw Legio Imperialis and Heresy together, and I think that we're going to get the Titan Death or something like that as the next campaign book.
So
Maybe.
Hydra Cordatus.
Was that on? No, that was
Yeah. Titan Death was on Legio, was on Hydra Cordatus.
No, it was Beta Garmin.
Oh shoot, you're right. What the heck am I thinking?
What about well, since they're kind of did the Chthonia, what about like the Lion when he starts basically just going around destroying all the other heretic Primarchs homeworlds?
Yeah, that
That
would work
could be
good for a Heresy
cool.
book, but I don't think that's going to work for Limp, because I think the problem is you're going to need Imperialis stuff, and I think that's kind of where they're trying to push it, because
Gotcha.
it gets them the ability to put 2 things at once.
Yeah,
And if you
yeah,
look
I
at what we're
understand.
missing for Imperialis right now, it's transports and some of the other stuff like that, and some of the Titan upgrades. So
Well, I mean,
it would not surprise
they've shown it. They've shown most of those, though. They just don't have
rules. Yeah, they don't have the rules, which is what that book would be. I don't want it necessarily to be that. I personally would prefer taking a step back and doing like you just said, Jamie, doing the lion going through and punking people, because that's more of an intimate style heresy event.
But it also gets you multiple different legions involved in it.
Yep.
Before you go full Solar War or Siege of Terra.
That's what I'm worried about, is that they're going to speed up to Siege of Terra to try to catch up to the books, even though we're on the last book.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm worried that they're going to try to jump on that gas pedal and accelerate closer into the Siege of Terra, bypassing a lot of stuff that they would continue it on, basically. There's tons of stuff they could do. But yeah, I'm in agreement. I'm slightly worried about that, because it's the Legion Imperialis. They're treating it basically as heresy. So I mean, it is, but they're treating it basically as mainline heresy as well. Just bigger battles of it, instead of putting more models on big 28 mil on the table. They're trying to flush it out that with like the bigger battles with the Legion Imperialis. So yeah, kind of like the old Imperial Armor books, where, like, say on Imperial Armor 3, the one with the Tau in it, they had
BFG and Tau, and
they had BFG battles. Basically, getting to the planet, they had to fight BFG battles to get onto the planet to actually fight the main army. So it kind of may work a little bit like that, where you will have like the smaller scale stuff is normal 28 mil, but like the big battles will be the Legion Imperialis in the actual rule book. I mean, that's how you kill two birds with one stone, basically, though. Unfortunately, I mean, we both love them separate, but I can see them doing that.
So, chicken and egg question. Earlier we talked about having a face for heresy, having someone whose sole project and passion is maintaining heresy, and whether that's community relations, yada yada. Is it a cart and horse problem to either get good books and hope that those promote sales and we can get someone in that role? Or do we instead hope to get someone that in that role, and then even if it takes 1 to 3 years for that person to finally actually get their hands into something, then do we hope that books follow that?
Yeah, that's the problem, is I don't necessarily know that we have 3 to 4 years. If they're going to accelerate to Terra, I don't necessarily know that we have 3 to 4 years for someone to get into the role and get comfortable.
Right.
Man.
I'm definitely inclined to agree. I don't think heresy has 2 to 4 years of we'll see what comes out and hope that someone is able to champion heresy, but you get where, to a certain extent, are we gonna be able to, if we keep getting one exemplary battle book, or let's just even say that their books published annually continue to only bat 500, where one is surprisingly better than expected. I won't call Chthonia better than a 7 or an 8, but considering that I was expecting about a 3 out of 10, very positive shift. And the exemplary battle unit or book, I probably would say that I expected somewhere in the 4 to 6 range, and I feel like I ended up with a 2. That getting at best 10 points across 2 publications, to say nothing of whatever we think the release schedule is going to look like going forward. What do we do? What do we hope for? How do we think we get from where we are to where we hope this is capable of being?
Man, those are really good questions. I think the easiest way to do it would be to split heresy. And I mean all versions of heresy. Heresy, Limp, and an upcoming version of or Heresy, Limp, Aeronautica, Titanicus, and whatever version of Battlefleet Heresy, if it ever comes out, we get off into its own subsection of the games with its own person heading it off. Someone who's already been there and been around a while, hopefully, but who, I don't know.
If they were to put somebody in tomorrow, they still have everything in the pipeline that is coming out, and they're not going to want to risk it for everything they already have in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Not to be trying, being a negative Nancy, that's just, they're not going to risk the money they already have involved.
Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't, and I don't blame them, they wouldn't really have a point or a reason to rush any of that or push that through the pipe faster, because it wouldn't do anything but hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
But putting someone in charge of that and letting them just kind of take it from there and build up, that I could really see and really respect. I don't know. If that were to happen and it wasn't Andy Hoare, I don't know who I would like to see in the position, but if they did do something like that and it was just their dedicated fiefdom, I think we would be in good shape. I really do. Questions and ideas.
Yeah, I think the things that would make me happy would be some of the releases that we've asked for specifically. I mean, we've got the Assault Marines and we're getting the Command Squad, but bikes or Storm Eagle, Fire Raptor, some of the things that support the other legions that aren't as supported would be honestly what makes me happy. I mean, I can obviously use any of it. I'm an Ultramarine player at heart, so anything that comes out, I'll probably end up getting in some way. But I think the little dribble of special character or slight upgrade sprue or things like that, that's kind of what's depressed me looking back at the year this evening. I think if they came out with a couple books that said like, hey, here's Siege of insert planet, here's a unit for everybody, or an upgrade to an existing unit for everybody, like Inductee kind of were. Those are good things. But then you have someone come on along right behind it and go, you know what, those tank commanders those are a little too powerful. We're going to take those back to 0. So I don't want to say it's hopeless, but at the same time, it's like that one's 2 steps forward, 2 steps back at the same time. The rest of the book was good. It's just those specific upgrades were made near useless 2 months later.
No, I hear you. I think one of the biggest things I'd like to see, really want to see drop next year, would be a box, like a small upgrade sprue box, with 10 chainswords and or chain axes, a couple power weapons, some right-handed only bolters, and breacher shields, all set to go with either the Mark 6 or the Mark 3 arms. That way it can be interchangeable for just those two CAD files. Don't even give us Marine bodies, just give us all those, kind of like you did with the special weapon sprues. If they put that out, I think that would be really, really nice bump for everybody. I think they'll get a lot of support and a lot of purchase.
Do you want me to go further?
Sure, why not?
Just make the Mark II breachers with all that.
Yeah, if I saw Mark II in plastic, I'd be a very happy Duncan.
Well, but I'm saying, like, you have a sprue, like a support weapon sprue, or not support weapon sprue, but it'd be an assault weapon sprue or something like that, which potentially would probably, they'll make it with, maybe with the HQ squad, you would think.
I'd really like to see them make assault breachers.
I would too, but
have them without have something they could trade a close combat weapon for that bolter. And have it not be just a generic chainsword.
I would love to see them flesh out, a lot of them, the non-big heavy tank vehicles. I would love to also see which that's fairly reasonable to do on some of it, because a lot of the land speeder molds are way, way, way old at this point, as are the bikes. I would also love to see, as John said, the super heavy tanks. I mean, they're not in a super great place, but it would also be nice to finish those off. And you already have the Baneblade in plastic, which you wouldn't have to do, you'd only have to do like half of the sprues for it, basically. I'd love to see Mark IIs and Mark Vs. Maybe a redone Mark IV that's in the same scale as the Mark IIIs and 6s, but that would be a lot to ask for. I think they're probably going to end up doing, as you said, like an upgrade sprue for destroyers and despoilers or something like that and breachers. I don't know if they'd put a whole new kit out, but for the breachers, maybe, just because they're typically you're going to have a bit more heavy armor on them, kind of like they did with the assaults, like on the front. But who knows? I'm still going with 2 books. I just think 3 books is too much for them. I really do.
Yeah.
Especially with all the trouble they had with Legion Imperialis with the supposed print issues they had. I think 2 books is going to be a reach for them, to be honest with you. I don't think they have enough editorial staff to do it, to go beyond that. So, I mean, that's being a realist, and being a realist also is there one Primarch. Who it is, don't know, but that would be realist. Non-realist would probably see 2. How about that? Like, I'd love to see 2 or 3, but I say you'll see 1 more at least. And, if it's something like with, Duncan was suggesting maybe with the Alpha Legion infiltrating, maybe you'll get Omegion or whatever his name is. I doubt it, but that would be kind of cool.
He's dead.
Is he?
Yes, sadly.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
There's so many things we just don't know about.
Well, communication would be the best thing to resolve all that. Just being more open with everybody. They're like, for gaming companies that, I mean, I know me and Jacob are into several other games, as is John. GW is like one of the most secretive, non-communicative companies available, even though they do have a lot of media. It's not communicating like what the future or what to expect from the company. They're more here and now. How about that?
Not unreasonable.
I'm not saying they have to lay out everything, but I remember back in the day they would still give you stuff like 6 months out and stuff like that, like legitimate concrete plans 6 months out to kind of say, hey, this is what's coming in 6 months or whatever, or in 2 quarters or whatever to expect, and they would show pictures of it. This awesome, build up hype, opposed to just letting it like they've been doing with the consoles. It's literally, this is this is a new console for X Legion, and then it's up for pre-order that week. That's generally what they've been doing with most of the consoles recently. Is literally preview it on Tuesday or Thursday, and then it goes up on sale on pre-order for the following week, on Saturday
or the week after at the very latest.
Mm-hmm. Whereas if a saboteur's coming out, you can start planning your army out to use that saboteur, 4 to 6 months out or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But
well, as we kind of head that direction, any final notes as we wrap this up?
Overall, I think it's all before we wrap it, just to give on the standard 1 to 10 scale where we think Heresy was release-wise for the year. I'm going to be straight up. I think, honestly, overall, we were somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8 on the quality of the releases. The amount of releases, I think it drug it down to that 7.
I'm at a 7.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going for the C for Diploma. I'm in the high 6 to 7 range for both.
That's fair.
Yep,
John?
Same with Jamie.
I mean, nothing egregious, but you could have done a lot better.
That's fair.
Yeah, D's are getting degrees on GW this time, but I think there's a lot of places they could have improved, and like Jacob really said, that book was just, there's just so many come on, guys.
Balls that have been dropped.
Yeah, I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. But my dad used to say a lot.
Exactly. Hey, I have to do that a lot with my 10-year-old. It's I'm not mad. I'm just upset. Being just disappointed. I know you're perfectly capable of getting A's in your math class, but you got a C, because you just lost interest or something like that.
Hey, a C passes. I was a C average student, and look where I am today. A C average human.
Hey, D for Diploma. No,
Yep.
No, I wish I understand the monetary wise where they were with the releases, why they released what with that, but I wish it was a little bit more varied than just tank after tank after tank after tank. You know what I'm saying? But
I'm not complaining, but those are big kits they could easily
Yeah.
modify and get out, and
Right.
it will say,
That's
"Hey,
what-
look
that-
at this big drop." So
No, I
it makes
understand.
sense why they did it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I get why they did it for especially monetary wise, like the cost of doing that versus having to do like a bunch of different kits to base stuff off of. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I
think
get
in-
it. I get it.
I think in the spring we're going to have a better idea too about what they're willing to do with these upgrade sprues.
Yeah.
So it's gonna really determine, like, if it's just weapons, then we're gonna know, hey, they're not willing to resculpt the arms, and then that means we're gonna have to wait a lot longer for breachers. On the other hand, if it is a complete resculpted arm and close combat weapons, then we're gonna know, okay, we might just get a breacher upgrade randomly.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that we're just on the cusp of finding out.
They're
Yeah.
teasing us.
And the very last thing I'd like us each to do for this year, you can wish list one thing, no explanation of why, just you get to wish list one thing. What do you want it to be for next year? I'll go ahead.
Please do.
I want Plastic Mark II. Jack, what do you want for next year?
In War Reboot.
Okay, John.
I hate you both because I want both those things.
Right.
No, if I was gonna say anything, I think a plastic super heavy. I think I'm gonna go out and say the impossible plastic
Thunderhawk?
mastodon. Plastic mastodon.
Ooh,
Ooh, left field, but I like it.
that's different.
Because I think you've got enough in that you could like build other tanks out of it. I'm not a huge fan of the design of it, but I could see me getting one if it was easier to build.
I mean, that's entirely out of left field, and I like that thought. Jamie?
Y'all have taken a lot of mine, and I thought about maybe going to low hanging fruit, but I'm not. I'm gonna go because everybody other than probably me and Duncan hate it. Plastic Mark V, either at Despoiler or Destroyers or Assault.
I'd be good with that.
Ooh, I like that one. That's another good one. Jacob?
Is it too much to ask for rules that make me want to play the game?
No,
No,
but that
Okay.
is perfect.
that's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah. We'll say rules that make me want to play the game then. I've talked about it a lot. Just feeling like the armies that I love most will continue to hurt me, and I don't know. I think I'm at the point of stopping wishing for things in Games Workshop systems, because the last time I did that, we got 40K 8th edition, and this time we did that, we got reactions. So nope, no more wishes. I'm sorry, no more wishes without my lawyer present. We'll put it that way.
Okay, we'll go ahead and contact Alex and have him get
Throw
with
up the
you so you can
papers.
do that.
Make it so. Otherwise, with all of that having been said, happy holidays, listeners, and thank you from all of us here at the Heresy Accountability Buddies. We've been delighted to be able to bring you this year's content, and we hope you'll be with us in the next year. With that having been said, I've been Jacob, and on this, the 65th episode of the Heresy Accountability Buddies Podcast, I've been joined by
Duncan.
Jack.
Jamie.
And John.
We'll see ya. Take care.